The NBA, above all else, is a form of entertainment. Every sport is, because while it obviously takes years of hard work and dedication to become a professional athlete, ultimately they're out there playing a game at such a high level that people want to watch them do it. Pulling off feats of athletic wizardry has captivated audiences since the dawn of time, and those that make the game fun tend to draw the most eyeballs, and all of this brings us to today's video. Today we're going to be putting aside how good players and teams actually are, and we will be ranking the teams based on how entertaining they will be this upcoming season, distinguishing which teams are must-see, and which teams will probably be forgotten about by the halfway point of the season. Of course, winning can improve a team's watchability, but bad teams can still be pretty entertaining too, so this isn't just going to be a list with all of the best teams at the top and all of the worst teams at the bottom. Now, starting at number 30 and working our way up to that number 1 spot, the least watchable team next season, in my opinion, will be the Indiana Pacers. It's going to hurt Pacers fans to hear because a month ago, they were one win away from being crowned NBA champions, but they're about to fall off a cliff this season, and their entertainment value went out the door with it. Tyrese Halliburton was the source of a lot of their entertainment value, as an incredible playmaker that dominates the highlight reel with flashy passes, deep threes, and clutch shots, and with him out for a long time with injury, the team's going to suffer, and there's not going to be much for the average fan to tune into. Losing Miles Turner also hurts a ton because they lose their leading shot blocker, and when teams lose two of their best players like that, people lose the motivation to put them on their TVs. Next at number 29, we have the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets are a very young roster, yet they're still somehow lacking in a must-see franchise cornerstone to build around. None of the rookies they drafted this year really have the it factor as scorers. Cam Thomas's situation in free agency is still unresolved, but if he does re-sign, he's been a pretty empty numbers guy over the last few years anyway, and Michael Porter Jr. shooting the ball every time he touches it is only going to be fun to watch for Michael Porter Jr. during film study. Next at number 28, we have the Washington Wizards. The Wizards are really starting to form a promising young core that can grow together moving forward, but that doesn't mean they're going to be attracting many eyeballs from the average fan. Trey Johnson is probably the leader in the entertainment department as a rookie microwave scorer coming in who could be in the mix for Rookie of the Year, but outside of that, a lot of their young talent is still very raw on offense with a lot of development needed. Alex Sarr is a shot-blocking 7-footer, but on offense prefers to be a spot-up 3-point shooter more often than not. Jordan Poole is gone, so his crazy playstyle is no longer in play, and guys like CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton were known as some of the more boring all-star caliber guys in their prime anyway, and neither of them are even in their primes anymore. Next at number 27, we have the Utah Jazz. The Jazz are another rebuilding team where most of their roster is made up of young players trying to stand out from the rest, and while there's a good amount of promising talent for the future, right now they're lacking in a real identity. Lauri Markkanen's breakout was fun a few seasons ago, but he's been trending in the wrong direction ever since, and Ace Bailey will probably be the most intriguing young talent to watch play out as one of the more polarizing prospects in this year's draft class, but on the court, the storylines for this team are a bit lacking. Next at number 26, we have the Miami Heat. The Heat are still a pretty good team, but even at the height of their powers with Jimmy Butler on the team, their offense was ridiculously underwhelming, and with Butler gone now, I don't expect there to be much flair on the court. Tyler Hero is a microwave scorer who can sometimes get hot and wow crowds, but Bam Adebayo's value stems from his defense and lacks any kind of flash on offense. Terry Rozier has fallen off a cliff and might be in jail in a few months. Norman Powell's a very underrated player in general, but his fit next to Tyler Hero is going to be an adjustment, and Andrew Wiggins hasn't played an entertaining brand of basketball since his younger days when on the Timberwolves. Next at number 25, we have the Phoenix Suns. The Suns have been a team people wanted to tune in and watch for the better part of the last 5 years because they were either in contention at the top or they were a garbage fire, crashing and burning despite having high-level talent. Now they're not going to be either of those two things. They're just going to be a below-average team led by Devin Booker, who really doesn't fit the new timeline at all, but is still committed to the team that drafted him. Jalen Green is fun to watch once a month or so when he has his occasional explosive scoring night, night, but in general is a frustratingly bad, inefficient decision maker, and the development of Come On Malawach will really only be something that Suns fans are monitoring on a regular basis. Next at number 24, we have the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are about to fall from grace hard this year, and even when they were on the top of the basketball world, fans would regularly complain about how boring their brand of basketball was. People would still tune in to watch them all the time because of how dominant they were, but the truth is, people don't want to watch a team do nothing but launch threes all game, and they especially don't want to watch it if the team isn't even very good anymore. The Celtics have led the NBA in three-point attempts by a wide margin over the last 2 years, and ranked second the year before that, so that's a trend ingrained into this team's philosophy, but it just isn't very fun to watch unless the threes are falling at a historically great clip. Next at number 23, we have the Sacramento Kings. The Kings are lacking in identity right now, but they at least have strong name value throughout their lineup. Admittedly, a lot of what made them so fun a few years ago was how fast-paced they played with De'Aaron Fox's blistering speed pushing the ball nonstop, but he's gone now, and while Domantas Sabonis is incredibly productive as a jack-of-all-trades playmaking big man, his style of play requires the game to slow down a lot more. Zach LaVine's explosiveness isn't quite what it once was when he was younger either. DeMar DeRozan's ISO ball lulls viewers to sleep, and they're probably going to struggle again to make the playoffs. Next at number 22, we have the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are primed to re-emerge in the playoff picture in the East this upcoming season after trading for Brandon Ingram last year, but I wouldn't exactly say this is a team that's very fun. They're going to try to suffocate teams on defense with all of the length in their lineup, but on offense, their spacing is going to be pretty bad, with RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and Jakob Poeltl being well below average shooters, and the shot quality that they're going to generate isn't going to be great, as most of the other teams in the league around them in the standings. Next at number 21, we have the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls have the potential to be pretty fun as long as Josh Giddey re-signs in restricted free agency, because as a 6'8" playmaking guard, he can be a walking triple-double threat, and he was building a lot of momentum to close last season out. Modest Buzelis is also a player oozing with promise as a 6'10" wing player that handles the ball comfortably and manipulates defenses in a way that very few others can at his size, but he's still probably a few years away from putting it all together regularly. Besides those two, this isn't really a team stirring up much excitement though, and their ceiling as a group is once again a play-in tournament team. Next at number 20, we have the Orlando Magic. The Magic might be one of the very best teams in the Eastern Conference this upcoming season, but their style of play has been more about slowing things down and brutalizing the opposition with their physicality than it's been about wowing crowds. They suffocate teams on defense, which results in a lot of low-scoring games, and the fact that their offense has ranked as one of the worst amongst teams that have made the playoffs means a lot of tough-nosed, low-scoring games without much pizzazz. Adding Desmond Bane will help the team's spacing, and Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are incredibly talented young players, but this list is about fun, not talent. Next at number 19, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks were more depressing than they were fun last year, and that was when they had Damian Lillard on the court. Without Lillard, the Bucks are running back a very similar group this upcoming season that underperformed massively last year for some reason, and they delusionally think that Miles Turner can be the piece that saves them. Giannis Antetokounmpo alone bumps them up this high on the list as an MVP caliber player who will posterize anyone and everyone in his way to the rim, but besides that, this group is more than likely going to disappoint you. Next at number 18, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies can put on a show when Ja Morant is at his best and he's flying around the court, throwing down dunks and pushing the pace in transition, but the problem with that is that after he returned from his injury, we didn't see Morant at his best last year, and that hurts them in the entertainment category. If Morant can bounce back and be the player that he was a few years ago, then they would be closer to the top 10, but if not, I can't help but look at this group and say, meh. Next at number 17, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. The fact that the Pelicans come in this low on my list just flat out disappoints me, because if you told me 5 years ago that this group would have most fans shrugging their shoulders, I wouldn't believe you. Zion Williamson was supposed to be must-see TV at the NBA level after he came in as a prospect with more hype than arguably any other player in the modern era. He can't stay healthy, he's practically eliminated the flashy highlight reel monster dunks from his game to preserve his health, and the rest of the team is filled with question marks. Jordan Poole sometimes cares too much about wowing crowds, so that helps land them in the middle of the pack as well, and young Jeremiah Fears should be a fun young player, but overall, there are a lot more groups commanding attention this season. Next, number 16, we have the Portland Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are a surprisingly intriguing young group who could be closer to a breakout than many think. Denny Avdia was looking like a star in the making over the last few months of last season. Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson are a backcourt loaded with explosive athleticism, even though their play on the court is still pretty inconsistent. But most importantly, the Young Hansen show has stolen the hearts of basketball fans everywhere, and if he can see consistent minutes this season, people are going to want to tune in to see what happens. Next at number 15, we have the Detroit Pistons. We're now in the top half of the list, so we're entering the territory where the average fan is going to start being a little more inclined to watch, and this Detroit team all starts with Cade Cunningham. Cunningham is pretty much a one-man wrecking crew carrying the load of this team's offense, and I think he won over a lot of basketball fans in the playoffs, where he led this Pistons team to a dogfight against the Knicks. This is a team with a lot of impressive athletes that compete hard, but after losing their sharpshooters in free agency and having to replace them in free agency, there's probably going to be some growing pains with them. Next at number 14, we have the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets may not be very good, but at full strength, they are a team that can go highlight reel for highlight reel with anyone. The issue is that they're rarely at full strength, and that does matter on a list like this, because if your best players aren't healthy, people will not be tuning in. LaMelo Ball is one of the most fun players to watch in all of basketball, with a ridiculously creative handle, elite passing talent, and deep shooting range, but he's played less than half of his team's games over the last 3 years. Next at number 13, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. The 76ers have the potential to be one of the most fun teams to watch in the league at full strength, but yet again, they're a group led by guys that can't stay healthy, and that needs to be taken into account. If Joel Embiid and Paul George can bounce back this year, this is going to be a very good basketball team, and with a young backcourt made up of Tyrese Maxey, Quentin Grimes, VJ Edgecombe, and Jared McCain, they could captivate audiences across the country, but they won't get the chance to do that if Embiid and PG are shells of their former selves. Next at number 12, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs are the favorites to top the Eastern Conference again this season, and they even had the top-ranked offense in the league last year too, so you would think they would be a top 10 must-watch group, but it just feels like something is missing. Donovan Mitchell is in a weird tier, better than your typical all-star, but not quite in a superstar type tier. Darius Garland is a lot of fun when he's playing with confidence, but in the playoffs, his drop-offs are a turn-off, and they shoot the ball well, but they don't quite have the exciting highs that other teams provide. Next at number 11, we have the New York Knicks. The Knicks captivate the Big Apple and will always be a highly watched team because of their massive fan base, but even though they're a very good team in a big market, their style of play can frustrate the average fan at times. Jalen Brunson is one of the best creators in the game today, but he flops a lot, and it can drive people crazy with it. Karl Anthony Towns is such a unique offensive talent, but he isn't always utilized as much as many believe he should be, and the rest of the rotation is made up of a lot of grinder 3-and-D players. Now, to start off the top 10, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is where the tier starts featuring teams that will consistently be groups people want to see play. Anthony Edwards is one of the biggest fan favorites in the NBA right now, not only because of his electrifying ability to fill it up and throw down some monster poster dunks, but also because his personality off the court is pretty hilarious. They've also been to the conference finals in back-to-back seasons, so they're establishing themselves amongst the best in the West, and that goes a long way here as well. Next at number 9, we have the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks, I believe, are a sleeping giant in this upcoming season, and not enough people realize not only how good they're going to be, but how fun they're going to be along the way. Trae Young has proven he can be one of the best entertainers in the game by embracing a villain role, hitting deep threes, and dishing out assists to anyone and everyone around him. Now the Hawks are loaded up on two-way talent around him to help make a legit run in the East again, with athletes like Jalen Johnson, Zachary Reese-Shea, Dyson Daniels, and Onyeka Okongwu, more scoring help by way of Kristaps Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and the ability to play faster than most as well. Next at number 8, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are the reigning NBA champions, and as such, people will always tune in to either root for or against them, which is what comes with that level of success. Reigning MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is also very polarizing, with some hating the way that he flops to generate points, but at the end of the day, the hate watching is still watching. I wouldn't say the play is the most fun brand of basketball in the world, but they're still comfortably in the top 10 for obvious reasons. Next at number 7, we have the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks aren't even going to be at full strength this year due to Kyrie Irving's ACL tear holding him out for most of the season, but when they landed the number 1 pick in the draft and got the opportunity to bring in Cooper Flagg, it single-handedly shot them up this list. Everybody is going to want to see whether Cooper Flagg is capable of living up to the hype, and every team is going to throw their best at him to test him early in his career, so when you have a prospect like that, it gets a ton of attention. They'll also still be a pretty good team overall, with Anthony Davis holding things down in the middle and a deep rotation at pretty much every position, so with that, they're probably going to have a lot of games on national television. Next at number 6, we have the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers will always have a strong watchability score because they're the biggest brand in the NBA, who more often than not also have some of the biggest names. LeBron James is always a draw, Luka Doncic is now also a massive draw viewership-wise, but everything else for this team is pretty cloudy. They may fall off a bit in the standings with mediocre depth, and LeBron's status with the team is up in the air, so they don't quite crack the top 5, but are still obviously near the top of this list. Next at number 5, we have the Houston Rockets. The Rockets broke out last year, but their strength in numbers approach without a true number 1 leading the way predictably got exposed in the playoffs. Trading for Kevin Durant was genuinely one of the best things this team could have done, so now they have the draw of a legit superstar leading the way. They've got incredibly exciting young athletes outworking everyone and soaring around the rim, such as Amen Thompson, who genuinely might be the most athletic player in the whole league, and they're going to be in the mix at the top of the standings, so they check a lot of the right boxes. Next at number 4, we have the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers are having themselves quite an off-season, and now they're looking like one of the most intriguing teams in the entire NBA. James Harden and Chris Paul running the show means that this team will have an elite passer running the offense for all 48 minutes of games. Bradley Beal comes in hoping to provide much better value after a disaster of a stint with the Suns. Kawhi Leonard still has the ability to take games over at his best as long as he can stay healthy, and the rest of the rotation is loaded with quality defensive talent, so with so much star power and reliable depth, they're going to be winning a lot of games and doing so playing a pretty fun brand of basketball with Hall of Famers leading the way. Next at number 3, we have the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors will stay near the top of a list like this as long as Steph Curry is playing at a high level, and that's just the truth of the matter. Steph on any given night is must-see TV, and he's one of the most entertaining superstars the game has ever seen, lighting it up from 3 better than anybody in the history of basketball. With a full season of Jimmy Butler next to him, they're going to be a pretty dynamic duo, doing a lot of the heavy lifting, because outside of them, there are still some question marks next to them. Next, coming in as the runner-up for the most watchable team in the NBA this upcoming season, we have the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets are another team that will always be a big draw as long as Nikola Jokic is around because he single-handedly is one of the most fascinating talents the game has ever seen. People like watching a guy who doesn't have the overwhelming athleticism, yet can still dominate the game at the highest level, and Jokic has a skill set as a scorer, passer, and floor general at the center position we've never really seen before. Throw in the fact that the Nuggets just had an incredible offseason, replacing Michael Porter Jr. Jr. with Cam Johnson, bringing back Bruce Brown, who was great during their title run. Jamal Murray is still a borderline all-star, and Aaron Gordon is still doing the dirty work next to Jokic in their front court, so the team is going to be really good, and their team-first playstyle with non-stop movement on and off the ball makes the game easy to ingest and fun to watch. And finally, the team that claims the throne for the #1 most watchable team in the league this upcoming season is the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs may not be as good as a few others on this list in the West, but everything else you want to see in a basketball team as a fan of the game, the Spurs have. Starting obviously with Victor Wembanyama. He is quite simply something we've never seen before, and he alone is must-see TV on a regular basis. At 7'5", he comfortably launches 30-foot pull-up threes, he handles the ball like a wing player, and he'll catch any lob you throw to him around the rim, throwing down dunks barely even needing to jump. Give a guy like that De'Aaron Fox for a full season, who constantly pushes the pace and puts pressure on defenses with his blistering speed, and they also have the #2 pick in the draft, Dylan Harper, who very well could be a star in the making on his own, plus they also have a reigning Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle, locking everybody up on the perimeter, and this is a young team that is going to play fast, they're going to be a constant highlight reel, they're going to bring more energy than their opposition, and they seem ready to start pushing for the playoffs after a few seasons of rebuilding too. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below which teams you think will be the most fun to watch this year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.